Welcome to Trudge the Road. We're your hosts. I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
My name is Jerry. I'm a sober alcoholic.
Let's start the show, Jerry, if you would, please, by telling everyone why we do this show.
Thank you, Rich. Trudge the Road Radio is a program dedicated to folks like us who suffer from the disease of addiction, and every bit as important are family members and friends. Your level of suffering is indefinable, and we know that you've got a lot of questions. Our goal here on Trudge the Road is to answer as many of those questions as we possibly can, and with the grace of a power greater than ourselves, find some kind of a solution to this incredible dilemma, which is the disease of addiction.
We have a website. It's trudgetheroadradio.com. We have a Twitter page. That's at TTR Show. We have a Facebook page. Just type Trudge the Road Radio into that.
And there she be.
And we also do a little thing called A Connection for You.
That's right.
And a website is aconnectionforyou.com. Explain, Jerry, A Connection for You, please.
It's a series that we put on. We do it in treatment centers. We do it at conferences. Heck, we'll do it in your house, as to where we come and using our DVD, Jerry, and the 12 steps as an opener to try to explain a little bit about what the 12 steps are, break them down, make it a little bit easier to understand, and then come using our own experience, strength, and hope, establish a connection for you so that we can get people, especially who are new into recovery, involved, becoming in the middle of the recovering community. And, to quote Sashi, the middle of the herd, and he used that euphemism in description after he saw a National Geographic special about buffalo, these water buffalo, and the lions would attack them to eat them, and but the ones who were in the middle of the herd were safe. And that's what we try and do, is get everybody in the middle of the herd so that they're safe and can enjoy a life beyond their wildest expectations.
Listen, we got a new affiliate this week, and we want to say hey to KYAH. That's Utah's Talk Authority.
Ooh, the Talk Authority.
Yes, 5:40 a.m. booms over the entire state of Utah, covering Salt Lake City and all points in between. So.
I've spent some time out there. I used to, in broadcasting, I worked in the Western Athletic Conference, and at that time, BYU and the University of Utah were both in, so I spent some time out there. However, I had yet to experience and enjoy the program of recovery.
Right.
But it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So in other words, you don't remember
Not
a lot.
Of that, no. No. I just remember that going to BYU, they were so polite. They were so nice. They would even clap when the other team did well.
Hey, listen, each week we also upload the show to the Twitter page, and I just wanted to comment. I had not checked in a while some of the places that were listening to the show. You get a few hits here and there around the world, but outside of the United States, Poland, we're huge in Poland.
Let me ask this question. Do they speak English in Poland?
Yes, they do, actually, in some areas.
Obviously.
The United Kingdom, third most listened to. It's not just London. It's West Sussex and various other places around London. Germany, France, Canada, Panama, Israel, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Ireland, Malaysia, and Russia.
That just blows my mind.
These are places that are listening to us, and I'm not just talking about one guy. I'm talking about there's a proliferation, it seems like, of
please
listeners.
Reach out to us. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, definitely. You can reach out to us by going to trudgetheroadradio.com. So we've got a guest today, and his name is B-RAiN. And B-RAiN is a musician, always been musically gifted, according to your bio over here, which was typed up by Aaron Wiest over here. And Aaron is a friend of ours that we know in real life.
From broadcasting.
Yeah, and he also is the owner of B-Real Productions Recording Studio, which mixed B-RAiN's new album, which is coming out here in a couple of weeks, correct?
Yeah, next few weeks.
So we're pretty excited about that. Now, B-RAiN's real name is Brian, so we just want to throw that out there, unless you don't want that out there.
That's cool.
Because I can always cut that out of the show.
I try to be me all the time. So.
Well, I appreciate you getting up early and coming out and seeing us here. I know you're from the Maryland area. Mm-hmm. And, Jerry, you look like you're just ready to ask B-Real some questions. You're
I'm just all excited to have a professional musician here, because I really respect and admire that.
I'll be honest with you, B-RAiN's going to be playing a couple of places that we're going to touch on a little bit later on that we're familiar with and that we've interviewed, like Jay from the 521 Club.
Exactly.
So we'll see how that all comes together in just a bit.
I think that it's absolutely wonderful, and I think that is something that is really important to recognize in our process of recovery. And this is a fact. The disease of addiction suppresses intellect and creativity. it just won't let it out. It just, you know, and we get that feeling, that overwhelmed feeling that we're not as good as, and we can't do that, and that's kind of by the way we live. When you get into recovery and that is lifted, you know, the discovery of talent you had absolutely no idea that existed, or intellect. Let me give you a couple of examples. Our friend Ed Parrott. Ed, who was a street junkie at age 50, mind you, at age 50, went to medical school. He's 79 years old now, and he still practices medicine 5 days a week. And he's not a good doctor; he's a great doctor, right, because he understands our pain. You know, Chuck, for example, a friend of ours in Philadelphia, who was a street drunk, basically, and found our program of recovery, started it, got a lot better, and the trust of his family somewhat returned, and they asked one day if he would watch his nephew and niece while they went to the grocery store or wherever. And he did, and as kids will do, they pulled out watercolors, you know, and they said, "Come on, Uncle Chuck, paint with us." Now, he'd never had a paintbrush in his life, and so he started painting too. Today, you have to give Chuck $25,000 just to pick up a paintbrush. His art is in the Philadelphia Museum of Art. He was an incredible. He didn't know because this disease suppressed that intellect and suppressed that creativity. And I think that we'll find in Brian that a lot of that creativity presented itself after he found his way into recovery.
Well, in my case as well, you know, I mean, I was strung out, and by the way, I'm coming up on 16 years in just a couple of days, so I'm pretty excited about that.
As a matter of fact, I'm coming up on 29 years in a couple of days.
Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. I already plan on acknowledging your big number. But I think a lot of people don't know this, but, you know, I wrote a master French thesis on literature.
Oh, really?
Right after I got... No, that's not true. That's true. I started doing this radio show. But B-RAiN's with us, and you've been involved with NA now for 10 years.
Yes, sir.
So let's go back to
the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where did it start? How did you? You know, we want just a little bit of your background and tell us a little bit of your story and kind of what brought you into recovery.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you know, my story started well before I ever got clean. Obviously, you know, I grew up. You know, like I was telling you guys earlier, it was just me and my mom. You know, my dad was in active addiction, and it was crazy because, you know, before maybe 11 or 12, I'm like, I'm never going to use drugs. I'm not going to drink. I don't want to. You know, it doesn't look appealing to me. And
I used to be the kid that used to say, you know why they call it dope, don't you? Because only dopes use it.
Right.
I was that kid.
We all were.
Yeah. and you know, probably, you know, so I acted out in other ways in like violence and getting in trouble. And you know, 6th grade, I got kicked out of school and failed 6th grade. And like over that summer, same time, my dad went on a binge and, you know, lost everything, was now homeless, living in the woods.
So your dad was also addict.
Yeah, an addict. And, you know, so that after that summer, you know, it for something just clicked. It made sense to use. You know, that became my solution to all the things that I hated about myself. You know, I felt like I wasn't worthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't, you know, all these other kids have families. You know, it's just me and my mom. And now my dad's homeless, you know, on Route 1, begging for change and stuff. And everybody knew that was my dad. So, like, I used to, you know, suppress that so I didn't have to feel that. You know, and that went well into my teens. My dad and I started using together, you know, and my dad was, you know, just a hippie. He was like, oh, I'm just going to be homeless. It's all good.
Right.
I'm just going to get high and live in the woods.
How did that come about when the first time you used? Did he say, hey, you want to...
Well, I didn't use with him first. You know, of course, I used with
but
friends.
You said eventually you started using with him.
Yeah, and it was like, I think I went to see him one time, and I was just high. And he was like, oh, you smoking weed and stuff? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, well, let's get high together. I'm like,
right.
Well, perfect. You know, this makes sense. You're going to pay for it, and we can get high together. And, you know, like I said, I was probably 13 or 14 years old. And
where
did I hear this story before?
Yeah, a lot of similarities. My dad is also, and yeah, we used to get high together too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And you know, soon after that, you know, my mom, you know, always doing her best to give me the best opportunity. You know, we moved out of PG County. You know, I grew up right outside of D.C.
Right.
And we moved to Annapolis. And, you know, I took it as this great addict that I am as an opportunity to reinvent myself. I'm going to be a better addict.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be a more hardcore. I'm going to be better at it and get more high. And I just went down this bad road, you know, just what is it when it goes down? I'm trying to think of the word.
Downhill.
Yeah, just straight downhill. And, you know, I was in and out of jails, you know, constantly. My mom coming picking me up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, because I'm still a teenager. They're
right.
not going to keep me overnight. I'm not. killing anybody, or robbing people yet. And, so it continued on, 18 years old, I started to go even more hard, and I ended up getting a big sentence. I was 18, they sentenced me to 15 years.
What did they sentence you for?
Robbery. I had a bunch of them. They brought it down to 1, and but at that time it was crazy, because at that time when they gave me 15 years, I was completely okay with it, because I had no hope for my life. I didn't have any job experience. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have any. I had my diploma, but like I wasn't planning on going to college. I wasn't planning on doing anything with my life. So it was like, well, forget it. Like, I'll just spend the rest of my life in jail. I was fine with that. And through that process, I was there for 2 years. Maryland, they allowed me to go to treatment rather than do my entire sentence. But during that process, my dad OD'd and died January 2007. And, I talk about it a lot. Like, when I went to his funeral, the only person that was there was me and my mom, because he had been using for so long. He had been homeless for so long. Like, nobody was in his life anymore. Right.
So this didn't happen while you were in jail.
It did.
It did happen.
Yeah, they let me out on a 4-hour furlough because he was my dad.
Right.
So I got to go on a 4-hour furlough to his funeral. So the only person that was there was me and my mom, and like the person that.
Did you take any of that on yourself? Like,
I blame myself, because like through that process, they bring H&I, and I knew about recovery. I knew about NA and AA and stuff. So I remember writing him a letter, and I'm like, hey, you should probably go to these meetings, because you're a junkie. I'm not. I thought in my mind I was a gangster. That was me. I was a thug. Like, I'm not an addict. I may be an addict, but he's an addict. He needs help, and he never ended up getting that letter, because like I used to have to write the letter to my mom, and then she would get it to him, because he didn't have an address. But he never got the letter, because by the time I sent the letter, they had come and told me that he had died, and like I blamed myself for a long time.
Why didn't I write this letter sooner?
Exactly.
Things of that nature.
What it was. But like after that, I talk about it a lot. Like, I don't know my exact clean date, because at the time, I used. After he died, like, I was continuing to use. I had used the whole time while I was in jail.
Right.
My mom would give me money, because she was a great mom and she just wanted the best for me.
Right.
And I would use all that money to get high. For the entire time I was in jail, before he died, after he died. And
what were you getting high on in jail?
We would, weed and pills, any pills, psych meds, and we'd crush them up and snort them.
Right.
Sometimes they would get dope in there. Sometimes they would get coke in there. Just whatever the tier runner had. It was like,
right. My brother was in prison. He did a 10-year stretch. Well, he did a bunch of them, but 10-year stretch, and he'd always talk about these things called blue monsters.
Really?
I don't know what they were, but he would take a handful of those things and be messed up. So.
And it didn't matter what it was, just as long as it would take me outside of myself, as long as it would stop these thoughts, the hatred towards myself yet again, I would do it. And like I said, so they were gonna let me go to treatment, and about a month before I went to treatment, we were doing tattoos, and we got knocked off, and I had to go to lockup, and I couldn't get high anymore in lockup. And I went to treatment. And probably about 2 months into treatment, my mom brought me these letters from when I was in jail, and the first letter that I got when I was on lockup was May 5th. So I knew I was probably clean before then, but I knew May 5th I was clean, because I was on lockup. I got that letter, and so that became my clean date. But I say that story because like at the time when I got clean, I didn't know that date would mean anything. I didn't know that was going to be the last time I was going to use. I didn't know that like this life of recovery was possible for somebody like me, and looking back, like I realized how so many of us come into the program, and just don't know anything.
Right.
But I allowed people to help me. I allowed people to teach me, because I knew that I didn't know nothing. I knew nothing about any way of life other than getting high and running the streets.
Right, and Jerry talks about that. Jerry, by the way, has a video out called Jerry and the 12 Steps. Oh, you got a copy. And he talks about that in the very first step about surrender.
Absolutely. And with me, I remember vividly, I was one time I was driving this automobile that didn't belong to me, and I maybe had a whole belly full of whiskey and a head full of blow, and that's when the police got involved.
Didn't you say you borrowed that thing?
No, they said I stole the car, and I told them they're wrong. I found it. Big difference, officer. And that's where the problems began because, and I'm sure that you'll be able to relate to this, is that when I got really angry and I was really drunk, it was very difficult for me to express my dissatisfaction with your behavior, but it was no problem for me to show you how angry I was. Right. So there I am in front of 3 cops who combined weigh 700 pounds. They've got guns, billy clubs, mace, and handcuffs. And what am I going to do? Beat them up? Bad decision, because it was on the old, well, if you pardon it, the Alabama whooping, Right. And they let me have it. And I thought they were going to kill me. They're just beating me. And I give up. I surrender. Please stop. I know there's trouble ahead, and they did. Mm-hmm. And that's the first half of step 1. I have surrendered, and the beating is over. There's problems ahead, but the beating's over. And, just to give you an example of what surrender is, and we've used this before, the Geneva Convention is a good example of surrender, and military people know this well. Around the world, the act of surrender is this. The soldier takes his or her weapon, they put it down, they sit there and wait for somebody to come tell them what to do. That's it. That's an unconditional act. And we ask you to do the exact same thing here because we don't know. Take the dope, take the booze, put it down, sit down, listen to the suggestions that are offered to you, and act upon them. That's the second half of step 1, unmanageability. We've got solutions.
Right. And B-RAiN is saying, and that's kind of what I was thinking when you said you were open to suggestion. You had just surrendered and you were right. Open at that point. And I want to pick up that here in the next segment. We're going to pick it up here where you're in lockup. May 5th, we'll say May 5th,
right?
And you're beginning your sobriety and you're open to suggestion. That's coming up next here in the next segment. This is Trudge the Road on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
Beth Cook Moranville, author of Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope.
Hope, that wonderful, wonderful 4-letter word that you may feel completely out of. I wrote this book to give you great hope. It's not too late. If fetal position is an all too familiar place for you, I understand. If the next 60 seconds are too long, this book is for you. Wherever you are right now, whether you're dealing with divorce or death or sickness, take hope. You are going to make it through this pain. Don't roll your eyes. I've walked this road, and I know it. The best is yet to come.
Closer Than Your Breath, a book of hope from author and speaker Beth Cook Moranville. Can be found on Amazon.com or Kindle.com. For more information, visit closerthanyourBreath.com or on Facebook at Closer Than Your Breath.
Welcome back to Trudge the Road. We're your hosts. I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
My name is Jerry, sober alcoholic.
And we've got 4 sober people here in this room, and we're very excited about it. Myself, Jerry, B-RAiN is here, and also Aaron is here with B-RAiN Productions recording studio. And Aaron, someday I'd like to have you as a guest, just to sit down and really find out a little bit more about you. I mean, we've surfaced it, as far as our discussions, but we've never really gotten into depth. And plus, I'm talking to you now because I want to give you a chance to talk on the microphone. So
yeah, I mean, I'd love to. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would be cool. And Aaron is the one who connected us with B-RAiN today. So thank you again for that. I appreciate
absolutely.
that.
What is really awesome, and these 2 young men are an example that young people in recovery in our culture are on fire. It is just I went to Friday Night Live, which is basically a young people's group, and there was at least 100 young people, and I mean, half my age, if even, I could have been granddaddy, and they call me daddy man, so,
Right.
And it is just amazing because they are so actively involved within the 12 steps and doing this recovery thing and taking care of each other, yet you have incorporated a whole social culture to it that my generation really never did, and I think that is what is the difference, and your generation is making the recovering community and culture a much better place, and I'm really grateful for what you're all doing because it's in your hands now. Let's be honest, it's yours, and you're doing a great job. I'm witnessing that. The young people just on fire. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. B-RAiN has got a new album coming out called Journey to 754, which is going to be released July 2017, which is right around the corner. And we're going to talk about that coming up in just a little bit. Aaron, by the way, from B-RAiN Productions recording studio, Aaron is the one who mixed and mastered this album.
Produced this bad boy.
Yeah,
It's lovely. It's a lovely piece of artwork.
Well, yeah, we'll have to see some of our affiliates, radio stations might be able to play a little cut off that too.
Well, we're going to play a little cut, so
I'm all about that, sister.
It's pretty exciting. So we're talking with B-RAiN, and when you were in jail, let me just go ahead and reset the table. You'd been arrested, your father had passed away, and you didn't think of yourself as an addict, even though you were. You thought of yourself as a gangster and who just partied or did drugs. You just went hard.
Which is part of the lifestyle.
Right.
But you were doing some tats one day and ended up in lockdown, and it was right around May 5th, and I'm assuming this is about 10 years ago.
Yes, sir.
So you really can't quite pinpoint your sobriety date, but you're thinking that's about the time it was. So you're in lockdown, and you're just there with your own thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I was there, and it was crazy because, like, H and I had brought meetings in, and so I had
That's hospitals and institutions. Just let everybody know what that is.
Right.
Yeah.
People bring meetings into the jail to be able to help, people like me that don't have access to meetings outside, and kind of plant that seed. And so I had the basic text. I had that to be able to read, and I read it cover to cover. Didn't really, and it was crazy because at that time, like, the only time I read, I'm not a big reader, even now, clean. The only time I read like that much was when I was on lockup. Read books, and that's all it would do, just pass the time. It would take me outside of myself. And so I had a basic text, and like I read it cover to cover, and I remember underlining stuff. I'm like, man, this really hits home. Like, this sounds like me. But it didn't really like click like this.
Is me.
It's an actual thing.
Right.
Like when I get out, there's going to be people that go to meetings and like stuff like this. Like people do things like I didn't know. I had no idea. Like I just thought that people went to work, and I didn't know how to get a job. Because I knew how to break the law and steal stuff that take stuff that wasn't mine. So I just thought regular people went to work and they came home and then they watched TV or something. I had no idea that there was this other, community of people that are in recovery that like love people unconditionally and want to help them through their defects and their things that they don't know, and these people are honest and understanding. I didn't know any of that.
Right.
So when I got out and I went to long-term treatment, I was there for 4 or 5 months or something like that, and they took us to outside meetings, and I got to witness it firsthand, like people in meetings and people giving me a hug, and like we would go Monday through Friday. We would go to a meeting, and like after a week or so, maybe a month, people started to remember who I was. They were like, "Oh, hey, Brian, like good to see you again."
Right.
And I felt important. I felt like
a part of.
Yeah. Right. And I had never experienced something like that before.
And you were telling us off the air how you had always had that longing for a family feel, too.
Yeah.
And how you'd never kind of felt you were part of a family. You looked at other kids, they went to school, and they had brothers and sisters and dads and stuff, and you didn't have that. So this was an opportunity to kind of come into, a group of people that had that bond, that connection.
Right. No, absolutely. Like growing up with just me and my mom, different men in and out of my life, dad not being there. And I'm an only child. So like I looked at these other kids, and they had mom and dad and brothers and sisters, and their aunt lived with them. And so they just had this big family, and it was just me and my mom. And like coming into the rooms, it was just like I felt, I felt the presence of a family. Just the energy walking into a meeting. For me, it was I could feel it. I could feel like something was special about this. I didn't know what it was, and so I just kept coming. And like really being in treatment, they kind of laid the groundwork for me to really know what the program is, know what the principles are. They taught us about being honest and working through triggers and changing people, places, and things, because that's something that I'd never done before. I got out of jail, went back home.
Right back to it.
Got out of jail, went back home. And it was funny because when I got out of treatment this time, like I remember telling my mom, I was like, "Mom, I can't come home. If I come home, I'm going to use." And it's not because the dope man is around the corner. It's because I know how to lie and manipulate you into enabling me. Mm-hmm. And like that's so
huge.
Big for me.
That is huge.
And because so many people don't realize, like they're just like, I'm going to go back home. It's like, no, like our parents, our friends, they're not enablers. I lie to them. I manipulate them into enabling me.
Right.
Like it's not their fault. When am I going to take my personal responsibility of what part I play in it? And like that was the first time I took personal responsibility for something that's like, if I come home, I'm going to use. So I got out, and every counselor, because I broke all the rules, of course.
Right.
Talking to the girls, I would sneak cigarettes in, coffee, and like I had always done. But one of the counselors told me when I got out, they were like, Brian, you don't gotta stay clean forever. He said, just try it. Try it for 6 months. Like, but do it for real. Go to a meeting every day. Get a sponsor. Be honest with that sponsor. Work the steps. Do the things that everybody tells you to do. Be open-minded and try it for 6 months. He's like, if you don't like where your life is after 6 months, go use. The dope boy's still going to be there. The liquor store's still going to be open. They're not going anywhere. The jails will still be there to lock you up. Hopefully we'll have a bed for you still if you can come back. And, like, there's always more dirt to put over your body if you die. He's like, but just try it. He's like, you got 13 years backing up and 5 years probation. You might as well try it for 6 months.
Right.
So I did. And, I got out, and I got a sponsor, and I got a home group. And, I went to meetings every day, sometimes 2 meetings a day. Because at the time, I didn't have a job. I was, 20 years old with 2 felonies.
Right.
Had just spent the last, not only the last 2 years in jail, but, for about 8 months, 9 months before that, I'd spent in a group home because I got kicked out of high school. So probably for the last 3 years, I was in an institution.
Right.
And, so I didn't really know what to do. So I applied everywhere. I mean, I was applying at, tens of, jobs a day, walking around because I didn't have a car. I was taking the metro and the bus and around Baltimore City, applying for jobs. And, it's so crazy because, like, at the time, like even McDonald's, they weren't hiring. Maybe it was just me. Maybe they saw me like, nah, we don't want to hire him,
Right,
or whatever. But like, it took me 2 months before I even got a job. But
you kept trying though.
I kept going. I didn't give up. And I talked to my sponsor and I told him, I kept him up to date on what was going on. And like him and I built this relationship. We'd go to meetings and I'd tell him about me. And, we would go out to dinner, after with all the people from the meeting, and I would tell him about me and be honest with him. Because, if I wasn't honest with him, there's no way that he could help me.
Right.
And, that was really, the beginning to our relationship and him being able to be there for me and call me out on my BS when I want to, slack off here or give up here. He's like, bro, come on.
Right.
And, it's so crazy. Like, a month out of treatment, my girlfriend, who's also in recovery, who, I'll share about it here. I don't share about it when I go into treatment centers, but like we met in treatment and like, it's not suggested. And we graduated.
No, it's not. No.
We graduated on the same day and we lived in the same Motel 6 and we lived together since day one. And like, both of us are still clean today.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. That's a miracle.
Yeah, man. And like, what was so crazy is like when we went to meetings, like people didn't judge us. They just picked us up and took us to a meeting. They loved us like we were newcomers.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say, "Oh, you guys are," Of course, there was some people I don't remember, but
right.
of course, there's always some people that's like talking crap behind our back, whatever. But like all I can remember is people not judging us, and all I can remember is like people showing up and saying, "Look, picking us up." I mean, 2 newcomers,
mm-hmm.
fresh out of treatment, living in a Motel 6 in Baltimore City, but they would come and pick us up. And they would take us to a meeting, and they would take us out to eat afterwards, and then they would take us back. And they would come get us the next day. Like, they didn't judge us. And like, looking back, I'm like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the amount of unconditional love that I got when I first came in. And
Absolutely. I think that it's emotionally subliminal to a certain degree, but you really come down to the basics of why people do that is because we understand each other's pain. Exactly. A pain that really can't be defined. I think that the text does a good job in using one word, one of the strongest words in the English language, torture. Torture. That's it. There's no pain worse than torture, and this is the torture of body, mind, and soul. And that understanding that subliminal emotional transaction that takes place between us that is never spoken but is understood is that I know how you have felt. I know the pain that you have been through. Even though I can't maybe define it or communicate it, there is that bond that we make, and I think that really plays a foundational level into why the behavior mechanisms that you've experienced are so positive and wonderful.
Right.
And make our culture absolutely unique in the world.
And I got to say that I know this is coming, but we talk about the title of the album, which is coming out, called
Journey to story behind this.
Yeah, Journey to 754, and the story that behind that name kind of ties in. Well, it doesn't kind of. It does tie in to what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
And I want to get to that coming up here in the very next segment.
Cool.
So stick around because we want to talk about what's going on now. Yeah. You know, what's going on with B-RAiN now.
That's the cool thing. You know, there is another side to this dilemma.
Yeah. And by the way, he and the girl are still together.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
What's her name?
Helen.
Helen. Hey, Helen, how are you?
All right.
Yeah. An 8-year-old daughter.
Yeah, you have an 8-year-old daughter and you have a ring on your finger. So, you know, breaking all the rules, but coming out okay.
It's a beautiful story.
Hey, listen, we'll continue next right here on Trudge the Road on the Trudge the Road Radio Network. Hey, it's Rich from Trudge the Road, and recently a lot of people have been asking, what is a connection for you? Well, the process of explaining the 12 steps of recovery, post-treatment planning, spirituality, plus the joy and importance of becoming an active member in the recovering culture is what my co-host Jerry does in a few short hours at your treatment center, sober house, detox, or in one-on-one sessions. Check out our website, aconnectionforyou.com. Give it a look over, and if you'd like to have Jerry come do a connection for you, then go to the contact page and send me an email, and we'll get it scheduled. A connection for you, providing a bridge from treatment to recovery, one step at a time. Welcome back to Trudge the Road. We're your hosts. I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
Call me Jerry. I'm a sober alcoholic.
Again, TrudgeTheRoadRadio.com is our website. Twitter page is at TTR Show. And Facebook is Trudge the Road Radio. And our guests today, Brian and Aaron. Brian, known as performing name is B-RAiN. And Aaron of B-Real Productions Recording Studio. They are Facebook living this particular interview. Yeah, it's very cool. I mean, you know, technology is just, I love it, man. I really love it. You know, one of the reasons that I don't want to age out and die is because I want to see where everything goes. Right. You know, I feel like I'm missing out. That was part of my problem when I was doing drugs. You know, that's why I was a crystal meth addict. And why was I in a crystal meth addict? Because I want to stay up and never miss anything. You know, now I don't want to die. Back then, I didn't care if I died as long as I didn't miss anything before it happened.
That's right. That's right.
Stay up and share my crazy with the world. Brian, your story is right now, you found some sobriety, you found some family, you got yourself involved in the recovering community, you got yourself a sponsor. And were you always a musician? Did you always have these things going on, musically speaking?
Yes.
I mean, as far as writing and performing?
So what's crazy is like before, you know, maybe the last 3 or 4 years, like I would only make music in the car by myself. Not around anybody else. I couldn't let anybody know that like I was a rapper. I always rapped since, I mean, my mom, it's so funny, like my mom was like, I still have poems that you, like she published some of my poems like when I was, you know, in maybe middle school and stuff like that I would write that, you know, when because that was my only way that I could express.
Right.
I couldn't say it. I was, you know, I thought that I was stupid or I was dumb or I wasn't a boy or a man. Like if I talked about my feelings about how my dad's homeless, so I just wrote it out, and like I wrote it in poems. My mom published a few of them when I was a kid, and you know, so that was always something that I used as like an outlet. You know, when I wasn't like, you know, trying to hurt people or, you know, take my anger out on, you know, with using or stealing or robbing people and stuff like that. Like I wrote, but I always did it by myself. Because I felt like if anybody knew that I made music, like they would say I'm stupid or what do you think, you're Eminem or you know, and I was so scared, and really, you know, probably like I said about 4 years ago. So it took me, you know, until I had 5 or 6 years clean before like I met other people in recovery that also rapped that were willing to bring me in and like help me to walk through my fear.
Right.
And I think that's very significant because, you know, we have said and we believe here that this should be called the disease of fear. And drugs and alcohol are my medicine. Exactly. And that fear that just keeps you absolutely paralyzed by yourself, just doing this thing in the car, afraid to share it with anybody because of what they may think. Regardless of how good or bad you are, it was always that opinion of everybody else that influenced us to behave. And again, making all of our decisions based on how we feel instead of how we think. That is the disease.
Right.
And it's a terrible place to be, but when you break through it, that's the miracle of recovery.
It's so beautiful.
It is, and you did that.
Yeah, and like it was crazy. Like when I started like to write with these guys, they helped me like learn, just music in general. Like I always, just did it, like I said, by myself, and I never really did the research because I didn't think I would ever take it seriously because I'm never gonna walk through this fear because it's too scary.
Right.
And with these guys, like them teaching me different things, and I was still scared to like rap in front of my wife because I thought that she would judge me. I was scared, and like the first time I did it, I was shaking and nervous, and she was like, "Wow, like, that's pretty good."
Yeah.
That wasn't what I expected, and from there, just continues to get better. Once I walk through that first fear, it just becomes easier and easier. I have more and more experience each time I walk through fear to know, like, hey, yeah, I'm scared right now, and yeah, this is really uncomfortable, but I know my past experiences with walking through fear,
right,
and it's always better on the other side, so let me just get this out of the way. Even just recently, as, like, I was with one of my sponsees. He follows this band called Pasadena. They're from Maryland. Super awesome. Lead singer's Joey Harcum, and he's like a super cool, laid back guy. But they've done like big tours and stuff like that. And he was in Westminster performing, and my sponsor, and he's one of my best friends, Paul. He introduced me to this guy, and Paul's like, give him your CD and talk to him. I was scared to death.
Yeah.
Like, why am I so scared? like, I know that he's going to be, I met him. He's a humble guy. Like, just walk through the fear. But I was so scared. And my sponsor, he's like, he uses the same stuff on me that I use on him. He's
Good,
like,
yeah.
you know how good it is when you walk through the fear. And I was like, you're right.
Right.
You're right. So I walked out to my car, grabbed the CD, and I gave it to him. And I talked to him for like 15, 20 minutes. And he was like, he's like, just like all of us, like, hey, I'm just a regular guy. Like,
right.
I'm here to make music and be happy and live the dream. And so it was really cool. And just that experience as recent as now, like still being feared up, it doesn't go away.
No.
I just become a little bit better and a little bit more aware of like where I'm at, why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling, and able to take action and do something different,
So after you'd gotten the CD, you kind of moved forward. I mean, when was the first time you performed? In front of people, where you exposed yourself in front of people?
That must have been a day.
I'm telling you, that was actually it was an amazing experience. The first time, like I said, me and these guys, we were making music together, and we had made a few songs, and we got this show at the 5 Seasons down in Baltimore City. It was just this little side hole in the wall.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was cool. It was small enough. I mean, there was probably 50, 60 people there. But it was enough to be a lot of people, but it wasn't
enough to be overwhelming.
Right. So, man, we got up there, and I was nervous. But I was up there with the other guys, that I was making music with, and they had performed before. So they, assured me, like, it's going to be all good.
Got your back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We got your back. And man, after performing, like, I felt so, I was addicted.
Alive.
I felt so alive. I was
Right.
like, this is beautiful. This is amazing. And, we did a few shows after that, and kept making more music and stuff like that. And, it was so amazing to be able to have this experience. And that's really, when we met Aaron and got a chance to get up to B-RAiN Productions, because we were making music in the basement.
Right.
And, like, I don't know if they knew, but I felt like our music was good enough if we had better production, if we had better recording and stuff like that. Like, there was
Sure.
only so much that I can do, Brian, I'm not very, while I'm on Facebook Live, I'm not that technically savvy.
Right. Don't
Don't
expose yourself. Everybody knows now. The basement tapes and you Undercover A-List. Let me ask you about that first single, which we're going to play just a little bit from. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that single.
Mm-hmm. So Undercover A-List and in all the videos that I've done for it and the posts about it, the only 2 letters that are capital are the N and the A. The N in Undercover and the A in A-List. Everything else is lowercase, and it kind of goes by saying like kind of like Narcotics Anonymous. Like, we're anonymous. Like, we're not out in the open. we're not, but we're doing such great things, like the A-list people, like
Right.
people that are stars are doing.
Right.
Like we're doing such great things, and so many people don't see it, and that's why there's still a stigma, because so many people don't see like the amazing, the business owners. Like I have more than 2 handfuls of friends that like own their own business, that are successful, that like employ other recovering addicts, that employ people that need a second, third, 10th chance, and still give them the opportunities that they need. And like there's so many A-list people that are in the rooms that like do such great things and own treatment centers and open up halfway houses and stuff like that. And like that's what we are. We are the undercover A-list. Like
That's awesome.
We're awesome. And
Let me go ahead and just play a little bit of that now.
Definitely. Last of a dying breed, know what I mean? Let's go. Yeah. You know what? We stick tight. Let's go, man. Turn it up some. Yeah, I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, ain't nobody A-list. I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, undercover A-list. I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, ain't nobody A-list. I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, undercover A-list. Cause everybody equal. If you got a needle, hop in the front. I got what you want, and this is for the people. I'ma show you how I live it. And I ain't kidding, cause ain't nothing funny knowing your friend could be dying any minute. I'ma admit it, I done made it through some hard times. 18 locked away, judge gave me hard times. Buried couple homies, 30 dozen police. When we searching for a brother, stopping shots, I'm like a goalie. Cause a shot in the veins, like a shot in the brain. And a red dot the same at the end of the day. Cause we suicidal through the bottle. What if you can lose the bottle? Recognize that you the bottle. Never give it up till you the model. What I gotta show you this real life? Come hop in the whip, get this advice. You wanna work, well this it might. You got 2 legs, you can ride a bike. No excuses, there ain't no excuses. I already know the bullshit. When you asking me for help, but you already know what you doing. That's why I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, ain't nobody A-list. I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, undercover A-list. I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, ain't nobody A-list. I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, undercover A-list. How many live in this? How many talk about it? How many doing both? I'm right here and I walk it proudly. I show you my scars, I show you my heart. I'ma carry the message and show you how it's done from the start. Man, I'm unfazed by them Sundays, waking up for them Mondays. I go to work, get done paid, not because of that gunplay. 2-time fell back round the match, never thought I'd get a job, but I found a gap. Started from the bottom, but I found a map. I'm not in the back of the Cadillac, cause I'm still here, real here. You best believe you gon' feel here, independent, no deal here. Gotta get it right so you will hear. What's the message? How I live it? I'ma show you what I'm doing. Cause the biggest room in the world, that's the room for improvement. Twinkle toeing, moaning. People really think they growing. Hide behind a simple slogan, staying clean and think they golden. Just fake as you once was. What a face you run from. Can I get a hell yeah from someone? Yeah, so I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, ain't nobody A-list. I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, undercover A-list. I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, ain't nobody A-list. I keep my circle small. You know my gang big. And who we hang with, undercover A-list. Undercover A-list. Undercover A-list. Undercover A-list. Undercover A-list.
Fantastic stuff. Obviously, very talented individual, B-RAiN. And Aaron, I know you're on the other side of the room. Good job on the mix down on that.
Hey, Ron, good job.
Yeah, way to go, man. All right,
Production is an art all on its own, man. It really is. That's phenomenal.
Really, it truly is. And that's why I want to have you back someday, Aaron, because I want to talk about how you got into this, and
Absolutely.
and I know that off the air, during the commercial break, we got a chance to kind of talk a little bit, and Brian was telling, about how you guys met and stuff like that. So that's something that eventually we want to bring to the forefront as well, just kind of talk about it. This next cut, Ain't Nothing Funny. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about that.
So this is a crazy one. This is really what started like me making music by myself. Like, cause like I said, it was a group of guys, and like, you know, there was a falling out. Some people used, some didn't, some went to school, and it was just, and so I was like kind of left to myself. Like, okay, am I gonna stop making music, or am I gonna walk through this fear again and do it by myself? Because like I had realized at that time, like I had this comfort zone, this kind of crutch of having the guys, and it was great. Like I loved all of them, and being with them, and I'm grateful for everything that they did for me, you know. But I was like I was at this point where it was like I either stop now or I keep making music and walk through this fear, because now I didn't have anybody else to rely on.
The jumping off point. Yeah.
So like at that point in time, one of my really close friends, the guy that actually helped me set up the music fest that we'll probably talk about later, he had 18 months clean, and he used, and it really messed me up and a lot of my network, the group of guys that I hang out with.
Sure.
Like it hurt a lot of us when he went back out. And like right after that, one of my best friends that I've known since I came in, like his son is the same age as my daughter, and like we hung out, you know, all the time, and like my daughter knew his son, and they, you know, now that it's crazy, now they go to the same school, but he was struggling in and out. And at one point in time, he had like 6 years. He had more clean time than I did, and like he had struggled for the past few years. And at the same time, they found him dead in his parents' basement. And you know, I didn't really, like I said, I was worried. I was like, am I going to walk through this fear? And like I was saying before, you know, that's how I get my feelings out, is by writing, whether it's music or poetry. And like it just came out in this song, and you know, it was really just me talking about, you know, seeing the process of my friend going back out, seeing the process of like right before my friend died. You know, it was like the first verse is about my friend that had 18 months, and now he's clean. Now he's got what, 4 months clean, 3 or 4 months clean now.
Good for him.
Back, and like I said, the other one died.
All right, it's called Ain't Nothing Funny.
Hey man, rest in peace, my man Jason. I love you, homie. Anybody that's lost one, this is real. Yeah.
I got a couple homies, they be asking how I'm living. I told you that I'm staying clean, thinking that I'm kidding. Man, ain't nothing funny. See me how I living now, ain't nothing funny. I said I never go to sleep, man, I'm on a mission. I told you that I'm staying clean, thinking that I'm kidding. Man, ain't nothing funny. See me how I living now, ain't nothing funny. 5 homies last night, found them with the flashlight. Depths of the darkness, bent spoon and a crack pipe. It's like he jackknife right up off the road. 18 months clean, ready, set, go. Like he never regretted the path he was headed, and now he forever indebted to this shiny new penny. He got that blowing confetti, one eye open like Fetty. Wop as I watch him digging in the carpet for Reddy. He want that one more piece, thinking it'll make it better. Long as he right there with her, she ain't gotta shake a feather. He bring the money, she bring the pain. She asking him how much you love me, don't say it, just put it in my vein. She want that rush, he want that touch. They say they don't need nobody else, cause all we need is us. And nothing could be further from the truth. So every time we close the meeting, I'm giving the moment of silence to you. I got a couple homies, they be asking how I'm living. I told you that I'm staying clean, thinking that I'm kidding. Man, ain't nothing funny. See me how I living now, ain't nothing funny. I said I never go to sleep, man, I'm on a mission. I told you that I'm staying clean, thinking that I'm kidding. Man, ain't nothing funny. See me how I living now, ain't nothing funny. Ain't no way to get rid of it, this insidious. And you thinking it's only affecting the inner city kids. From the county to the country and all across the globe. People thinking they finding love from what they put inside their nose. My homie sent me a text that I see you on the other side and I only wish you the best. And I'm like, what the f*** is this? What the f*** is this? But it was just radio silence as I listened for the sirens. I didn't know what was next. Did he take his last breath? Did he take his own life? Cause he didn't know what was left. I'm sitting here looking at my phone so powerless. Like what can I do right now to get him out of this? I'm dialing frantic. Man, I'm trying not to panic. I know right at this very second he's dying, it's apparent. It was 2 months to the day that I got his last message. All I can hope is that he's at peace with where he's resting. I got a couple homies, they be asking how I'm living. I told you that I'm staying clean, thinking that I'm kidding. Man, ain't nothing funny. See me how I living now, ain't nothing funny. I said I never go to sleep, man, I'm on a mission. I told you that I'm staying clean, thinking that I'm kidding. Man, ain't nothing funny. See me how I living now, ain't nothing funny.
There you go. That's Ain't Nothing Funny. Back here at Trudge the Road, Jerry.
Brian said something it's very significant. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was at a treatment center at the retreat. And I would guess that the average age there of people who were in treatment was probably about 25, anywhere between 18 and 30, which is very different because 10 years ago, somebody new in treatment was 30, somebody young in treatment. And I asked this question, and there was over 100 young people there. I said, how many of you have had somebody that you cared about or loved or was in your culture who has died as a direct result of their addiction? And every single one of them raised their hands. And that is something that is demonstrative to your demographic, to your culture, is that it is surrounded by this awful overdose situation, the epidemic of heroin in our area of the country. And when everybody is affected by it in a treatment center, that's something we didn't have to go through. I mean, people weren't dying when we got clean and sober. Today they're dying. Again, emphasizing the fact that things are getting worse. They're not getting better. And but it is people like you, and within your, what I absolutely know is you're only going to get clean and sober within your own culture. You can't be drugged into our culture and expect it to happen. They tried it. It didn't work. But it is working within your culture, and I just admire it tremendously. And I love the fact that somebody, I'm a baby boomer, is welcomed into your culture, and I've had to learn what your culture is and understand it because you have your own language, you have your own forms of communication, you have your own music, you have even the food you eat is different. It's completely different, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful that you're able to maintain this culture and take such incredibly good care of each other. And I've witnessed that firsthand, and it's extremely admirable. And really, I haven't seen it happen within the recovering culture until your generation showed up. So, again, hats off to you.
Yeah, we're running kind of short on time. I got a couple of things I want to get to. I want to get to where you're going to be playing. I also want to talk about something that's coming up for Jerry, too. But we do have time that I do want to hear this last cut. This is off the new album. The album is called Journey to 754. And before we hear Is It All For Real, tell me about that name, Journey to 754.
Beautiful story.
Yeah. So, like I said, my wife and I, we got clean. We lived in a Motel 6 in Baltimore. Soon after, we were there for a few months, and we moved to the Days Inn. Because they had a fridge, so we can make sweaty meat sandwiches. Stuff like that. And like slowly but surely, we just moved up. We rented an apartment, from other people that weren't in the program, and then. We lived in a little shack house. It was like some lady's pool house that she'll just put plywood over, and we made it into a home. And through moving, we moved a lot of times in our recovery, but each time we moved to better ourselves, better our situation.
Right.
And like last year, it was funny. Around 5 years clean, we set a goal that at 10 years clean we would own a home. And at 9 years clean, we bought our home. And 754 is my home address. I'm not going to say the street. But, so it's really my journey home. Like, this is my home. Like, I've been there for a year. I do stuff around the house, and like it really is a home.
That's such a great story.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So that's the name of the new album. It's called Journey to 754. And this is a cutoff it called Is It All For Real? And just a brief story about about this song.
Oh man, it's really it's crazy because like I could never imagine like within 3 minutes to be able to talk about my whole story, but this song really does it. Like all the pinpoints, but it talks about just is this real? Like I wake up sometimes like this can't be real. Like this is my home. Like this is my bedroom. Like that's my TV that's hanging. I just hung a TV on the wall like that in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Never had anything like that before. I'm like, like I put it up there. It's just like this can't be
that's
real.
Gratitude,
really
though,
is.
man. That's gratitude.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Is this my wife? Is that my child? Is that dude? I relate completely. There are times when I look back and I go, I can't believe
your story is very similar to that.
Yeah,
actually.
I mean, I just listening to you today, I can connect with a lot of different things, and I just was telling a story last night about, I've never been in a relationship longer than 5 years. I'd never lived in a place longer than 5 years. I'd never had a job longer than 5 years, and I'm going on 10 for a bunch of different things. But let's go ahead and hear, Is It All For Real?
Yeah, I'ma do my best to spit it for you chronologically, cause what happened to get me to this place even surprises me. It's evident you doubted me, that I ever get the salary. You never saw the side of me, now you know I'm the prodigy. And now that I got all of that out of the way, let me tell the story that started the beginning of May. I was still behind bars, but it's alright, cause I done did 2 years and they put up a fight. I mean, I had to scrap, but that's another track for Aftermath. How could I really comprehend that prison was the master plan? No cash advance, just valiant plans of attracted lands. We slapping hands to grab his hand in back of the van, and then they came and told me that my daddy gone. I never see him again and he will never hear the song. But it's alright, I done made it through worse, and life is just a dogfight. When you wonder will you wake up from the dream, is it all for real? Is it really what it seems? Looking at my keys, I got another day clean. No, we on the same team, you can make it to the league. How you gonna know if you won't never take a chance? Living in fear, so you won't ever make the plans. Life is a beach, I hope you're walking through the sand, no. And I'm just here to help, I'm reaching out my hand, no. I can sit up all night and tell you why I never win, give 100 excuses, make it sound eloquent. I could let the devil in, or maybe I could be different. I'm living double time, I live whatever he missing. This brings me to my next topic, recovery. This is the reason radio is never gonna with me. It's all about the gluttony, whatever they can force feed you. I need some more speakers, I ain't talking 4 tweeters, I'm talking speaker jams, late nights to be the man, meeting after meeting, man. Get the message, feed it, man, give it away to keep it, man. Road trips to Beaver Dam, a band in town in PA, we would never leave a man. We lift them up, we pick them up and let them shine with us. Papa Willie ride with us, let them feel alive with us. Show them that there's more to life than the next 5 minutes. We got God with us, staying clean, I'm with it. And when you wonder will you wake up from the dream, is it all for real? Is it really what it seems? Looking at my keys, I got another day clean. No, we on the same team, you can make it to the league. How you gonna know if you won't never take a chance? Living in fear, so you won't never make the plans. Life is a beach, I hope you're walking through the sand, no. And I'm just here to help, I'm reaching out my hand, no. And when you wonder will you wake up from the dream, is it all for real? Is it really what it seems? Looking at my keys, I got another day clean. No, we on the same team, you can make it to the league. How you gonna know if you won't never take a chance? Living in fear, so you won't never make the plans. Life is a beach, I hope you're walking through the sand, no. And I'm just here to help, I'm reaching out my hand, no. Gratitude is an action and it's an attitude. How I'm living, I'd rather do than whatever these rappers do. And I ain't worried about it, still come in for dinner time. Already put time in the streets, so now I'm getting mine. Gratitude is an action and it's an attitude. How I'm living, I'd rather do than whatever these rappers do. And I ain't worried about it, still come in for dinner time. Already put time in the streets, so now I'm getting mine.
From the album Journey to 754, starring B-RAiN, that is It All For Real? Now, where can folks get this
Gotta get a
album?
copy. Got to have a
Yeah,
copy.
if they want to download this,
Best place you can go to wearecloudgang.com.
wearecloudgang.com. Also, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play.
Google Play, Amazon Music, Pandora, Shazam, all. Yeah.
All right, so there'll be a lot, but wearecloudgang.com is where you'd like folks to go. And that's your website,
that's
too.
That's the website. It's got all the updated pictures. It'll have, this video, like Aaron said, he's going to video. We're going to have pictures and, just up to date on all the events that we're doing. All the music videos that we shoot will go right on there, as well as YouTube and on Facebook. You can go to We Are Cloud Gang on Facebook. You can go... I don't have a Twitter. I didn't get time for that. But you can go to We Are Cloud Gang on Instagram.
Awesome.
We just keep it up to date.
All right. Well, listen, this is B-RAiN. I just want to do a final wrap-up here in the last segment. You guys hang around for that real quick? All right. It's coming up next here on Trudge the Road on the Trudge the Road Radio Network. Hey, it's Rich from Trudge the Road, and recently a lot of people have been asking, what is a connection for you? Well, the process of explaining the 12 steps of recovery, post-treatment planning, spirituality, plus the joy and importance of becoming an active member in the recovering culture is what my co-host Jerry does in a few short hours at your treatment center, sober house, detox, or in one-on-one sessions. Check out our website, aconnectionforyou.com. Give it a look over, and if you'd like to have Jerry come do a connection for you, then go to the contact page and send me an email, and we'll get it scheduled. A connection for you. providing a bridge from treatment to recovery, one step at a time. Welcome back to Trudge the Road for the fourth and final segment. We're your hosts. I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
My name is Jerry. I'm a sober alcoholic.
B-RAiN, Brian, has been our guest here today, along with Aaron. B-RAiN has an album coming out. It is Journey to 754, and you can get that at wearecloudgang.com. That's wearecloudgang.com. And Aaron, of course, of B-RAiN Productions Recording Studio, also in the program of recovery, is recorded, mixed, and mastered this album. And B-RAiN, thank you so much for coming down. I really, it's been a joy this last hour.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm eternally grateful.
All over the world, people are going to hear you. They're listening to you right now in Israel. Which blows my mind.
You guys blow
Poland,
my mind.
you know.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. But you took some time out to come down and do this with us, and we're extremely grateful. Now, you're going to be playing in a couple of different places. You want to go ahead and tell us where these are? I know Carroll County, Maryland.
Yeah, Carroll County, Westminster. We're having the Addiction and Recovery Awareness Music Fest 2017. That's July 15th.
Okay.
It's at the Carroll County Ag Center, 4 to 10. And then the following Saturday, I'm at, it's called, I can't remember what it's called. You can check it out on the Cloud Gang Facebook page. I'll have all the events on there. But July 22nd, it's in Frederick, Maryland. I'll be there. And then August 26th,
521 Club.
521 Club.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
That's right. Beautiful place.
Recovery Rocks. That's going
to be exciting. I'm going to make that one.
Okay, sweet, man.
You don't know it yet, but you're working.
Am I working?
Yeah, I forgot. I didn't tell you about that quite yet.
Apparently, I'm working at that event. But 521 Club is also the home group for this guy over here on the microphone on my right.
That's right.
Jerry, who has a very special day coming up here. July 1st. Jerry.
Clean and sober for 29 years.
Yeah!
If there was ever proof of a miracle, there it is, right there. You're listening to. There's no doubt about it. I'm a miracle.
Yeah.
A miracle.
Yeah. Congratulations, man.
Let me tell you, this 29 years goes like that, y'all. So just buckle up, because here you go.
Yeah. Just yesterday, his hair was all there, and
it was black.
Yeah, black hair, and now, of course, 29 years. Though it's an amazing thing, and it's something you really should be proud of. And one of the biggest things about that 29 years is all the people that you've helped along the way. And I know people in my life that you've helped, and me you've helped.
Thank you.
Just want to say thank you.
Well, you can't keep it unless you give it away. That's what we say, and it's absolutely the truth. And it's nothing. The biggest honor in my life is to be able to help another person suffering from this horrible, horrible disease.
All right. Congratulations. And again, B-RAiN. Brian, thanks for coming by. Aaron, thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having us.
This is Trudge the Road on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.